Welcome. Let me start off by saying I give all the honor and the glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Welcome to Mamie's Truth Podcast. I'm not a counselor, nor a social worker, nor a doctor, nor a lawyer. But with my podcast, I'm speaking about myself. And I hope and pray that if it's anyone going through a situation, um, whether it's an adult or a child, to reach out and get help. Let me start off also by saying I appreciate foster care, group homes, and adoptees because we do have good ones in this world. We truly do. And I applaud you guys for accepting kids like me to come into your home. I was 5 months old when they took me from my mother and my family. I was very close with my grandmother. My grandmother named me, and she gave me her name. And I am so eternally grateful for that. Because my grandmother and I was truly close. And the only ones that knew that was the ones that was in the home with us. And for me, my grandmother was a very remarkable woman. When they took me out of the home, I really didn't miss my grandmother because I saw my grandmother often. And what I mean by that, they kept me in the hometown where I was born. And wherever I was, found out later that my mother, my aunts, them knew exactly where I was. And they'll come and take me and come and get me and take me back to my grandmother's house. So my grandmother, she wasn't a teacher, but she taught me. And that I am eternally grateful for. Because each time they took me back to my grandmother's house, it was 3 weeks to a month when I was with my grandmother. And each time my grandmother, she taught me. She taught me numbers. She taught me my alphabet. She was teaching me things to remember. I go to church with her. That's what I did with my grandmother. And I love my grandmother dearly. So it took social service a while to realize where I was. And then they would camp out or whatever the case may be and wait till my grandmother left the home. And then they would take me back. I recall that. I also recall the visitations that I had within the social service building, where actually I thought the lady was a social worker who visited me. And I just knew that she was so beautiful. Um, and I guess I admired her because of her beauty. Well, later on, I found out it was my mother. And we'll get to that later on. But I knew I had visitation. I knew that someone was visiting me in the building. But that occurred for 4 years in my little lifetime, where they would take me out of foster homes that was abusing me, or they felt like they was abusing me. One particular home, I had a real bad burn mark on my head from them straightening my hair. And another home, I got scalded by hot boiling water on my legs. I don't recall them, but I know that the bruises are still there. So once they took me from that home, those homes, they began to place me in homes with elderly people. And one particular elderly lady, she was so sweet. She reminded me of my grandmother, actually. And I enjoyed her, and I felt that she enjoyed me, and I felt that she loved me. Where she ended up getting sick and had to go into the hospital. I can recall that as a little child because that was devastating to me. But when she came out of the hospital, she had one leg amputated. And as a child, I always cared for people, especially elderly people. I've always loved and cared for them. So I tried to help her the best I could as a little girl. I tried to help her. But I can also recall one night we went to bed. I slept with her because I was little. And sometime during the night, I had to use the bathroom. So she assisted me on using the bathroom, but she never woke up. I tried to wake her, she never woke up. So I must have cried myself back to sleep. So when I woke back up, it was daylight. And I tried to shake her and wake her up. And she never budged. She never budged. So I must have cried myself back to sleep. Because when I woke back up, I tried to wake her and shake her, and she did not budge again. So I got scared and I got nervous. And as a little girl, And I don't even think I was 3. I might have been 3, but I started screaming. And somebody that passed by her home heard my little voice. And they went and got help. When I knew anything, because I was so little, I couldn't unlock the door. When I knew anything, the police department, the sirens, oh my God, that really scared me. Scared me so bad. But they ended up busting down the door. And unbeknownst to me, the lady was dead, had been dead since that night when we laid down. In other words, she died in her sleep. That, as a child, threw me for a loop. With the sirens, the ambulance, the police, the social workers, oh God, did it tear my nerves up. Yes, it did. So I went into counsel after that. Just to try to get my nerves right. And that was still in the 60s. Just to get my nerves right. And for me, that was the last and the first foster home that I ever felt safe and comfortable in. The next foster care after that, not so much. Not so much. I don't know and I don't understand why take children in that you're going to mistreat them. You're not going to love them, and you know that they've been through an ordeal in their little lifespan. I went through a lot of challenges growing up. I did. And the path was not easy for me. But the obstacles that you face in your lifetime, and I'm sure all of us have, I'm sure. But for a child, it's difficult. For a child, it is difficult. Because you want to be loved. You want to be cared for. You do. You want to be loved, and you definitely want to be cared for. And you want to feel safe. You do. And for me, it was only a couple of times in my life at that time when I did feel safe. It was as a child. My grandmother and the lady that passed away. So moving on forward, I ended up going into another foster care. And she had about 5 foster kids plus her biological grandson or granddaughter. And when I walked in and seen the kids like me, I was excited because I would have someone to talk to. That wasn't the case. Because almost as soon as I arrived at her house, one of the kids passed away from sickle cell. And she got rid of the other 3. And then the oldest girl, she began fighting with this lady. And this lady wasn't going to have it in her house. So she sent her back. I'm assuming the social service. I don't know where she sent her back to. And all of us stayed in the basement. So once she sent all of them away, it left me in the basement by myself. And I was afraid. I was truly afraid. Sometimes she'd take me somewhere with her and her grandchild. And sometimes she'd lock me up in her basement, which was terrifying to me. Because I didn't understand why I wasn't good enough. I didn't understand why I was treated in that way. What did I do to you for you not to love me? So one day, the worker informed the couple that they was coming out to do a welfare check or whatever the case may be. And they wanted to talk to them and they wanted to talk to me. And the day before the workers came out, she got me in the room and she tried to coach me into what to say to this woman when this worker arrived, when this social worker arrived. As a child, they might not develop in that way. They get confused about what to say. And I was confused about what she was telling me to say. And in my mind also, I felt that if I said the wrong thing, that she would hurt me. She would hurt me. Now, I tell you, prior to that, she was nasty to me. And so with that, when the time came for the lady, the social worker, to come to the home to talk to me, I not only thought about everything that she has done to me, and this is the woman that set her naked butt on my head because she thought I was looking up her skirt. And if anybody of age know, used to children couldn't sit on the chairs or nothing like that. They had to sit on the floor. And I can recall when the Lawrence Well or Hee Haw came on, we had to sit on the floor and eat crackling or popcorn or something. So I was sitting on the floor in front of her looking at TV where she placed me. And when she called my name, I looked back at her. And I don't know if it's because she was a big lady and her legs were just open, but when I turned around, her legs was open, and when I turned around, I was right there. And she got very angry. And she pulled her dress up and sat on my head. And I wasn't a teenager. I was just a child. I was just a child. So, with all the stuff that that person had done to me, when the social worker came to visit me, they spoke to the couple first in the living room. And the female was acting like everything was, 100% good. The things that her and her grandchild did to me, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. So after the worker spoke to them, they called me in the living room and the couple had to step out. But with the side eye, I can see that she was listening to every word I was trying to say. I was a little girl. And I was afraid to say much of anything to that woman, to the social worker, that is. So when she got finished talking to me, she called the couple back in the living room. And talked a little bit more to them. And when she got ready to leave the home, she called me back in and she said, Mamie, she said, I'm getting ready to leave. And I grabbed that woman's leg. And I told that woman, that social worker, that I thought that woman was going to kill me that night. You heard what I said. I said, kill me that night. I wasn't laughing. I wasn't joking. I was dead serious. And I was afraid. So the social worker asked me again. She said, what did you say, Mamie? And I said, that woman gonna kill me. That's what I said to her. And she told the couple to go back in the back room and stay. She told the grandchild to go into the other room. And before I knew it, the social workers and the policeman was outside of her home. And they had to pack my bag that night, and they took me out of there that night. That was the night that I left my hometown and went to Greensboro, North Carolina. And I stayed in Greensboro what really felt like a lifetime, but it was a short several years. But I had gotten so close to them. I wanted them to adopt me. I went in their room. They had just had a newborn baby and a 1-year-old. Because I think I was 3 or 4. I don't know. But maybe 5. But we was getting ready to go to bed. I had a room of my own. I felt safe. I felt comfortable. And it was a Caucasian couple. And I went in their room that night. And I asked them, could I call them mom and dad? And they looked at each other and looked back at me with a grin on their face. And they said, yeah. And I felt comfortable. They got me into music. They got me into a lot of things. Swim team, band. I played the flute. I played the violin. I played the piano. I did a lot of interesting things. But I wanted them to adopt me this particular year. And the word came down that they couldn't, and they pulled me out of that home and put me in a group home. So being passed around as a child, you just feel like you're being punished for no reason. It's like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do for people to treat me this way? Did I do something to my parents, my mother, my father, for them not to want me? What did I do? So, when I got to the group home, I was very young. I was the youngest one in that home. They had school on the campus, so you never went off the campus to go to school. You stayed on the campus to go to class because it was a school on the campus where the homes were. I was very spoiled, very mischievous. I remember that. I thought I could do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it without no consequences behind that. I was wrong. I can remember my biggest thing in school that I loved to do would say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I love that. And I started beginning to feel safe at that group home. I really did. But eventually, time was almost nearing for me to track out. I remember going to Christmas parties and stuff where a lot of people that wanted to adopt children were with all these children and all these adults in the room. Nice party. But they was making a choice about what kid they wanted to adopt. And they truly did not want to adopt a preteen or a teenager. They just didn't. For whatever reason, I don't know if it was because they could not mold them. They preferred a baby. And I used to go back to the group home and I'd be so sad. Because I would be like, why me? Why not me? What's wrong with me? In the group home, they used to tell me I was special. We were special. And for me to hear that, it just brightened up my day. Literally brightened up my day. Because I was special. And I didn't take it negative. I didn't. So when the lady came and wanted to adopt me, I embraced that. I truly, truly embraced that. Somebody wanted to spend time with me. I didn't embrace that I had to leave the group home. That ain't what I embraced. I embraced the whining, dining, and buying me things and taking me out to eat. That's what I embraced. I embraced that. And she acted like she cared. And the love was going to be there. Because when she come down from her hometown and her and who we thought was her husband at that time would take me out, take me shopping. When I got back, the den mother and the housekeeper would question me. How did you feel, Mamie? What did you do? all that you would ask the child that you care for, I felt. And so I would show them what she bought me and tell them what we did and where we went. I embraced that because I thought she cared. But for me, after the fact, a wool was pulled over my head. Fast forward to age 50, when I got in contact with social service. And I asked them why didn't nobody care. And they was totally shocked of what I said. Totally stunned about what I said. And that's when God gave me the questions to ask. Because I was still curious at age 50. I met my mother and most of my family in 1999. But at age 50, I wanted to see my files. I felt like it was my right to see my files. Well, I received some files. I did. And I found out a lot. And I'm not bitter or angry. And a lot of times people say, well, you still bitter or you still angry? No, I'm not. I'm just telling my truth. At one point in time, I was bitter. And I was very angry. But the path that I came down, it was horrible. It was horrible. When I got pregnant, shortly after I came to this particular state, I was in love. I was in love with my baby inside me. And I knew my baby would be the only family that I had in this world. I thought. Because at that point, I did not know who my family was or where they was. you teach as an adult. You're supposed to teach children right from wrong. They look for you to love them. They look for you to care for them and nurture them. And they definitely teach you. They definitely want you to teach them life. But with some of the adults, you can only teach a child what you know. And if you don't know anything, what can you teach that child? As a young girl, I tried to do the very best that I could with what I had to work with. And what I did not know, I had no problem in saying I did not know. So somebody can help me. Because at that point in time in my life, I knew I needed some help. Because I said the road was hard for me. I didn't make it no better for myself. And I know that as I got older, I didn't. But I still had God on my side, sitting high and looking low. Because I understand, don't nobody, no child, come with a book of instructions. I understand that. Nor do they ask to be here. Nor do they ask to be here. And whatever their mother, their father, their ancestors, their aunts, their uncles, their grandparents, whatever they did, they did. Don't throw it in that child's face. Don't do that. And that was done to me. By people I must say did not know my family at all. Never met them. But I was smart enough to know. You don't know my people. You went by what you heard. You didn't go by what you knew. And you didn't bother to ask me anything. Because had people asked me questions, I may have been more freely to speak on it. But you didn't. And that's okay. That's okay. So I guess my message to adults that's willing to bring children in their home, be patient, communicate, ask questions, get to know that child, Love that child. Care for that child. And I know the road is not going to be easy, because you really don't know what that child has been through. You really don't. You don't know. Documents can say a lot. Documents can say a lot. Documents can say a lot, but they don't say the truth. And at age 50, when I started investigating that, I discovered that. Because on the papers that they sent me, Lord have mercy. If I would have been the person that they proclaimed on that paper, I wouldn't be here speaking with you today. So there's no need to tell a story, an untruth story about a child. Get to know that child first and forge your own opinion. Because I tell you, as they grow and go to the public schools, if you already cruel to that child in your home, just imagine what they're going through in these public schools. So I thank you, my viewers, for watching. I truly appreciate you allowing me to come into your home. And I definitely would love feedback, because this would not be the last, the first, nor the last. Please continue to support me. I definitely appreciate that. And welcome to Mamie's Truth Podcast. Have a blessed one. Bye.